Thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Acumatica Customers Get More from Your Native WMS with Kensium. My name is John Massey. I'm Vice President of Customer Success here at Kensium, and I'll be your host for the next hour as we explore what Kensium WMS offers above Acumatica's WMS offering. Today, we'll discuss how to elevate warehouse operations to the next level and how Kensium WMS delivers the tools to get there. Now, before we get started, I wanted to tell a quick story from my early days of consulting. When I was right out of college and hired by Deloitte, a senior manager, it could have been on the job 3 or 4 days, and the senior manager grabbed me and said, "Come on, let's go take a look at a client's warehouse. They're having some issues." And we got there. It's a medium-sized warehouse. They were doing roughly 600 a day. Not a massive warehouse. Don't think Amazon, but it was a pretty good-sized operation. And we were brought in to see how we could help them become more efficient as they were barely making and sometimes missing the deadlines for carriers to pick up at the end of the day. We went through the warehouse, and as we were leaving and walking to the parking lot, the senior manager said he had already had a solution. And he said one word to me, or one phrase, I guess, and that was cross-docking. And for those of you that don't know, cross-docking is a process where products move directly from inbound to outbound trucks with minimal storage. Now, I had read about it in textbooks, but finally I was going to get to see it applied in a real-world setting, and it frankly was eye-opening. One thing you don't get from a college textbook is actual impact. So, after analyzing their operations and implementing cross-docking, we saved that client an average of 200 moves, inventory moves per day. Think about that. 200 unnecessary touches eliminated daily. That wasn't just efficiency. It was a complete shift in how they operated. And that's exactly what we're here to discuss today. How Kensium's WMS can help you achieve similar results. Streamlining operations, reducing costs, and improving speed. So let's dive in. Before we get started, a couple housekeeping notes. First of all participants are on mute to ensure a smooth experience. Second, if you encounter any issues, please use the chat feature and our team will assist you. And then last, we will make the recording available after the session so you can revisit any part of today's discussion. And then, of course, at the end, we'll have a Q&A session. Don't worry if you put a question in the Q&A and we don't get to it by the end of the webinar. We'll have somebody get back to you with an answer, or we can get on a call to understand the use cases that you're facing and how we may be able to help you. So, with that, it's now my pleasure to introduce Matt Gray. Matt's a manager of our product implementation at Kensium. In his role, Matt oversees the full cycle implementation of Kensium WMS, Kensium point of sale, ERP integrated platforms, purpose-built to optimize inventory control, fulfillment speed, and retail operations. With more than 2 decades of experience spanning channel sales, ERP integrated retail systems, and e-commerce technology, Matt offers deep expertise in operational insight. His disciplined, results-driven approach ensures every deployment delivers measurable value and long-term success for Kensium's clients. Please join me in welcoming Matt Gray. Matt?
Thanks, John. I appreciate the intro. Today, we're going to be going through and taking a look at the persons on today's call. We have resellers, customers, partners, vendors. So we're going to be talking about a lot of different things, but the 3 key areas we're going to focus on here today is understanding when to use the native Acumatica versus Kensium solution. What's the difference? We're going to go through a thorough feature review of that. And then discussing the operational benefits of our embedded WMS application. Ricky, next slide. What's the best fit? I probably get this question more than any throughout the course of a day or a week about understanding where exactly does Kensium fit in the ecosystem. And when you look at Kensium WMS and Acumatica WMS or others in the market, there's a lot of overlap in what the softwares do. For example, all of them you can receive a purchase order. All of them you can receive transfers, initiate transfers from a handheld, picking, so forth and so on. Where Kensium really starts to separate itself in the market is when you get to higher volumes of transactions, or maybe a higher complexity of transactions. And by complexity, I mean you're not simply picking items in 2 items into a box and shipping them to a customer. You have palletization requirements. You have advanced fulfillment needs. So when you take a look at it, if we take away what all the applications do together, today's spotlight is going to be on some of the areas that we have enhanced the Acumatica experience through the use of Kensium WMS. Ricky, next slide. And how I wanted to handle today, I wanted to break down the workflow differences on an inbound, outbound, and material handling side. As I alluded to before, you can receive a purchase order in any WMS application. And when you take a look at it, the certain customers, many more customers these days seem to need a little bit more advanced capabilities. What do I mean by that? Well, instead of just being limited to scanning a simple purchase order, one purchase order number, the handheld allows you flexible lookup options by a vendor. You could look up by a PO or vendor number, a date range, or an item specific. Or if the item arrives without any documentation, you can scan and see a list of purchase orders that it's on. Not only that, you also have the ability to receive across multiple purchase orders. So in a real life world, you typically don't order 100 widgets and get 100 widgets at a time, especially for customers who are buying maybe their primary vendor, they're putting in 4 or 5 purchase orders a week. Well, product is coming in and it's not broken out by purchase order. They're essentially telling you you're going to get 700 widgets and it's based on what you ordered last week. So having the ability to receive across multiple purchase orders is a big win for many customers. On top of that, multi-location receiving. Some items have to go to receiving. Some items have to go to QA. Some items you may want to receive directly to the stocking bin. You have the ability to control your receiving locations through advanced configuration options within the Acumatica architecture. The ability to print box labels as you receive in goods. Maybe you deal in only case unit of measures or inner pack, outer packs. You can actually use the unit of measure conversions to where as you receive in a box, it may not be labeled. You could print a UPC or a box ID for that to identify what product, whether similar or disparate, are within that location. And then, of course, receiving the pallets. You're going to hear a lot of conversation points today about containers, pallets, bins. We use the term containers as kind of a generic word that covers many different things. So a container could be a pallet, like I said, a tote. But what you can do is you can actually receive those products in and assign them a license plate upon entry. And then take it to the next step to where we have capabilities such as assisted put away for items and containers as well. Next slide. Now, focusing on the outbound workflows. So just to be clear, what I mean by that is shipments, whether it's a TO or TR shipment or a shipment to your customer. when you take a look at the capabilities within this is where things really start to differ. And when you take a look at from a high level of how customers are leveraging Kensium WMS is the ability to enhance the transfer and picking process, right? So you have your standard pick allocations, you have your pick sequencing, you have standard things out of the box that Acumatica provides. Where we have the ability to actually take that to the next level, we have the ability for what we call a primary pick area. Many times best practices in a warehouse, they require your segregation of open versus case stock. So there's additional fields and data set that allow you to identify primary pick locations, overflow locations, and more. On top of that, you also have the capability for zoning. So in many warehouses, you may need to split picks, or let's say you have a warehouse and you outgrew it, so now you have the building next door or maybe across the street, but it's all one warehouse. You're tracking your inventory from there. So you can isolate picks in zones so you're not having people running from building A to building B to building C. Or you may have items that are specialty items where certain pickers need to pick those items. Well, you can split it up by your cheap, your expensive items, your heavy, your light, your hot, your cold on that. So zones are a capability out of the box that allow you to segment that. Get next. This is a concept. We have a lot of customers that are trying to go paperless. I don't want a piece of paper anymore. I just want to be able to pick. So what we have the ability to do is for you to just simply get next. And there's a queuing system where you can rank your shipments, and the picker can just simply, once they're done, they go back. They don't have to go get another piece of paper or anything. They just hit get next, and it starts routing them to pick throughout the warehouse. So these are some very high level things, but there are some key things in just the basic picking and packing processes that we do a little bit different. One of those is simply being able to override a serial or a bin or a quantity for over under picking, or even the ability for you to change a serial lot at the pick. Now, this is controlled through security and it's controlled through settings. So if you want to eliminate that, you don't have to, or you can. And we also have little techniques of such as batch serial scan. And the best example I can give is for heavy or high serial number tracked items. If you track a lot, in most systems, you would have to scan an item. You'd have to scan a serial or a lot. Item, serial, lot. Item, serial, lot. That becomes a lot of scans in a short period of time. So simple things that we've added, like batch serial scanning, to where when turned on, you can scan an item and you could just simply start scanning serial numbers, whether it's 10, 100, 1500, doesn't matter. So these little things here, as John's story pointed out early on, is the ability to eliminate data sets, scans, having to go back to a desk to look at something. It really accelerates that to where that alone cuts down your scanning in a heavy serial number warehouse by 50% right off the top. Now, to take that the next step higher, we have the ability for you to pick to a container, pack to a container, staging your containers. You may pick stuff today that's not being shipped out until Monday. You can pick the pallets, you can stage those pallets in a location and identify staging locations. So when the truck arrives to come load that on, it will tell you to go to this bin and get this pallet, go to this bin, get this container, stage them, and then have you confirm it out the door. So those types of things, and enhancing it, we'll talk a little bit more about these specific modules, just adding some desktop capabilities as well. And one of our newest features is Quick Pack. Very easy, straightforward. You have the ability after the pick from the handheld to simply just start packing, generate those labels, get the product out the door. Next slide. Now to the material handling. So once the product is in your four walls, what you have the ability to do is there's a handful of different things, but we'll start with containers. The container conversation, pallet conversation, what it allows you to do is many times items, let's say for example, you have a whole pallet of an item come in. It's a single item. There's 50 boxes on it. It's 12 in each box. It's 600. Those 600 are going to move. Well, if you don't use containers, what happens is you would have to tell the system, oh, I'm transferring 50 boxes or 600 eaches, all of that. Whereas if you simply build that container at inbound, you have one ID. So it's a one single scan every time you need to move that around. And if you've ever ran a warehouse or worked in one, you know that that could happen 2 or 3 different times a day, depending on what time of day, busy season, slow season. So having the ability to just have a single barcode that tracks multiple of the same item or disparate items is not a problem at all. You have your standard bin and item checks, including containers. You can process your material issues and receipts. If somebody drops a box and breaks something, you can provide the ability to have them issue that right on the floor. Or if you see a product out there and you didn't even know you had it in stock and Acumatica says you don't have any of this and you're looking at a case of them, well, you can do it through the desktop. You can do it in a number of different places, or if you have security capabilities to do it, you could just simply do that receipt into the bin, and now Acumatica in real time will know. And just as a quick side note, we also support the standard count process in Acumatica where you generate a freeze, you generate a count reference number, and then the handheld would route you through the bins and have you scan the items on that. So, but when we talk about what's different, one of the neat tools that we have that is starting to gain a lot of traction is a module we released just a month ago called Quick Count. And the purpose of Quick Count is when you create a freeze, if you've been exposed to Acumatica and quite frankly most ERPs, when you do a freeze, it locks the inventory. You can't receive a purchase order against it. You can't create a shipment against it. You can't do anything. It's frozen. Well, what Quick Count allows you to do is from the handheld initiate a process to where when you identify a bin that you want to count, it will create a count or a count in Acumatica of that item. And the purpose of it is for you to scan what's in that bin. It may take 30 seconds, could take 3 or 4 minutes. Scan it, save it, and we're taking advantage of some of the newer tools Acumatica has to where you can unfreeze a count before it's committed in that. So a lot of our customers with that are counting one bin at a time, but because of the speed, and if you have 10 people doing it and it's 2 minutes a bin, you can get through 50 to 60 bins very, very fast in the first half hour of a shift. So you multiply that by 2 weeks, you've pretty much, unless you have 15,000 bins, you have probably gone through all of your high volume moving bins that you would wish to count. Next slide. Now, when you take a look and put it all together, right? Inbound, material handling, outbound, everything is there. One of the key things here that we have talked about is this is all a part of our standard WMS. Everything I've discussed is with the WMS product itself. And the key thing when you take a look at the architecture we just briefly touched on it earlier, is just confirming that we are embedded in Acumatica. There is no external database. There's no third-party set of tables over here to where we have to update and go through. When you save, it is in Acumatica immediately. Now, because the WMS, when you take a look at the customization packages and things we deploy, we had a lot of different screens. We had obviously new features within Acumatica, but even some of the tools that we've created in Acumatica, for example, a bin content detail screen, a singular screen to where you can filter by warehouse, item, or bin and put in any 3 combinations, and it will tell you exactly how many you have in that bin. Now, you could go run a report, select it, do the filters, all of that fun stuff. It's just quicker, more efficient information at your fingertips. Next slide. Yeah, this quote here, I think this pretty much sums it up. Customer Wayne Water Systems, they've been running this software. I think I first went on site there back in 2016. It's been a while, but they're probably one of the more advanced customers that we have. And it's interesting, you know, John told the story earlier about going out and seeing it. And sometimes just going out to a customer like Wayne and seeing how everything moving is just, it still to this day is fun for me, right? They have multiple pickers, zones. They're using tools like optimization and some things we'll talk about here in a minute. They have UCC EDI integration. They need an ASN. So this is a fully fledged large customer that is moving tens of millions of dollars of inventory a month, all through the use of Kensium WMS and Acumatica. I don't go out as much to customer sites, but I still get a little revved up, to be honest with you, each time I do get that opportunity. Next slide. So now that we've talked about basic core WMS, what we're going to focus on here in the next couple of slides are what we just call our additional modules. So from a high level, these modules were designed to layer on top of the WMS, the Kensium WMS application. And by the name, optimization, there's a lot of different things in optimization that we'll be going through here. You have your SFDC, your shop floor data control that integrates with the Acumatica and the e-workplace manufacturing softwares, multi-pack, being able to have 3 levels of goods, items, and boxes on pallets. Then we have our desktop components of pack station and print station. And before we move on to talk the details about them, one of the things I always explain is very few customers need all of these features or add-on modules. So they're not meant to have 6 or 7 different pieces of software working in one. Some people just need the optimization side and maybe one pack station. So what you can do is in this is, as you're learning about this, is understanding that each of these are unique modules that can run alone on top of WMS. Next slide. So optimization. Many of you, I saw some of the names coming in. We've talked before. And in my talks, you always hear me talk about the red, yellow, green screen. You're probably nodding your head up and down. When you take a look at optimization, how we've broken it out is optimization is a big word that means a lot to a lot of different people. And the best way I could unpack it for those where this might be a little bit newer of a concept of is I would start by the pick optimization, the pick planning. And the example I always give is, let's say you get a big set of orders, 400 orders overnight from your web, they import in, and your pickers are going to show up at 7 a.m. Well, without the optimization tools in that, most customers will just simply start generating shipments based on those without any insight as to what's on those shipments, what's on them, who they're going to, how they're going out, or anything. It's just an automation schedule where it starts creating. The problem with that is it creates them all based on the data in your warehouse at 6:30 in the morning when you ran it. And if you've ever spent more than 3 hours in a warehouse, you understand they change drastically throughout the day. Every pick of a product is less of that. Every receipt is more. So when you take a look at the optimization, the red, yellow, green is a summary of what you have the ability to do is come in the morning and just in Acumatica, in the create in the process orders, you select create shipment and the buttons appear at the top. Optimization runs a pre-allocation routine. Now there are additional rules that we've added for pallets and a lot more functionality, which we would run out of time trying to explain them all today. And green means these are in pickable bins right now without any transfers or having to send somebody to overstock or anywhere. So green is good. Yellow is you have enough in the warehouse, but they are not in designated picking locations. So you could fulfill those today, but in order, you have to move product to the picking bin. Red, perhaps because of a rule like ship complete, you may not have one item, there's 100 items on it. Red means right now, there's no way you can ship this based on the rules. So the thought is you may take a look and create the first 50 green ones and get your team picking. While they're picking and all the allocations are set and all that, you also have the ability to then turn around and run a down stock report, which takes the max and some additional calculations that says you need to go get all of these items from here and transfer them to the primary pick locations. So the thought is you have people replenishing those bins because you're probably going to need a forklift to go pull the cases down, bring it over to the bin, drop them down, unload some, bring it back up. So usually they're different people as well. So the down stock process, for those of you who do use it or maybe always wondered if there was a tool to do that, this optimization tool is what allows for that. And like I said, with the pick side, you can plan them, UOM, pick location. You can do it by customers, carriers, ship vias. So if you got to get your same days out the door first or next days, you can go through all the standard filters. And it to a T, usually a customer every time will ask, hey, can we add another filter? Can we add another filter? Very easy to do because it's in the Acumatica UI to go ahead and do that. Now, the other side of it is cross-docking. When you look at cross-docking, that's what John alluded to. You have products that come in. Rather than go through the put it away, generate a shipment, generate a pick list, go get the handheld, pick it, and bring it to shipping, what you have the ability to do is in the cross-docking component, you can take a look at a receipt that was just performed. And you could run a routine that will analyze that stock to see, is any of this shipping today? Like, is there an open sales order or is there a back order? Because I wasn't able to ship it last time out there. To where it can generate a list for you to say, okay, you just received in 1,000 items. These 600, put them directly in shipping. Take these 400. These are going to be a normal put away, or maybe they have to go through QA. So by blending these, because I will tell you, not every customer uses cross-docking. Many times they don't understand it enough to implement it until we start talking. So all of these little pieces are wrapped within our optimization tool on that. And real quickly, the other one, reserve stock, is exactly what it is. If you're the type of customer who has to store certain product for your large customers, maybe you guarantee you're always going to have 5,000 widgets on hand. what you can do is you can, by building containers in these pallets and putting them in reserve stock locations, whether it be by customer or sales order number, you can reserve that stock. So when your Acumatica is looking to see what I can fulfill, it's not looking at that reserve stock. It isolates it over there. So we found over the years, customers sometimes would have, I think one would add 200 virtual warehouses because they were trying to reserve inventory in these warehouses that were essentially customer names. So this is theirs, this is theirs. It was all one building. So the reserve stock function allows you to do that within a singular warehouse without having to bend the rules of the ERP. Next slide. Shop floor data control. Pretty straightforward module, but also pretty powerful. So this tool integrates with the release, labor, and move screens in Acumatica. So release, you put your materials release, product goes into inventory, labor, moves the finished goods out. So what we found was some people were having to use WMS for a couple things and another application for the manufacturing side. And I think it was about 10, 11 years ago, we met up with the powers that be, and we just simply added this here. And to be honest with you, we have some customers that's all that they use. They don't really pick, pack, and ship. So you can get the SFDC module as well, which affords itself all when layered on top all of the other options if need be. And really, obviously, where it's on a handheld, some people run these modules on tablets. As long as it's an Android-based device, we don't really care. It auto resizes, handles that from there. Next slide. Multi-pack. Now, multi-pack is probably one of the more complex things that we do, because if you're accustomed to most ERPs, Acumatica included, what happens is you have a shipment that has items, and then you have a packages tab that pretty much allows you to put items in boxes, items on a pallet. But customers who typically ship in larger unit of measures, they need the ability to know what items are in what box on that pallet. So what multi-pack does is it adds that third layer of nested data. So whether you're picking cases, 24 packs of stainless steel cups, and that's all you ship, you don't break cases, you can track what boxes, and you can have a box ID on every single outbound box if you choose. And then you have your pallet ID. So you can generate that data, send it up through EDI in many cases, send your ASN to your vendor, which are typically going to be big box retailers like a Walmart or an Amazon. And you're going to send to them, I'm sending you 12 pallets. On those 12 pallets is 680 boxes. And within those 680 boxes, I have all of this information. So when they receive it, they have all of the information needed. And so it's dealing with the inner pack and the master pack mentality on that, where the master is your rated. Many times people who do this, they typically have stuff picked up or they schedule trucks to deliver. You could be shipping a pallet through FedEx. So it's not limited to certain carriers or anything like that. But for those who need it, they really need it. So if you ever hear of a customer, I need pallet tracking, all of that, the steer should immediately be, let's start talking about Kensium WMS and see if that's a good fit. Next slide. PackStation. So this is one of our 2 desktop applications that we have. It's Windows-based. It can be touchscreen enabled. This is to paint the picture of what PackStation does, is you have a shipping area, you got a scale there, probably a zebra printer, a thermal printer, a little tethered scanner. Shipment comes down in a tote, you grab it, you scan it, it loads it. Packer looks and says, hey, this needs to go in a medium box. They open it up, put it on the scale, scan the items to confirm it's going in the right box. Then you may add a catalog or some free tchotchkes in the box. Then you'll put some peanuts or paper in. And with the full scale integration, you hit get weight, comes in on the box. You can have multiple boxes. You hit ship order. Now, the key thing here is we don't have our own carrier integration with FedEx, UPS, USPS, any of that. We actually go back through Acumatica. So whatever Acumatica carrier you have set up will work within it. What happens is as it goes out to get the labels, the shipping labels and the rates and everything to bring back, once that comes back, PackStation is intelligent enough to start printing the packing list if you choose and the shipping label while they're taping it. Put it on the box, put it on the pallet for FedEx or UPS to pick up at 3 p.m. Next slide. Print station. This is a little tool that I have had many customers tell me that this is the best tool of them all, because many people who are moving to a warehouse, they don't know the complexities of bin. How do I organize my bins? How am I going to print the labels? How many bins am I going to have? There's all these questions. Well, Print Station is a utility we built some time ago that its core function in life is to allow you to print item labels, bin labels, container, pallet labels from a single environment. And I was actually on a call yesterday, and one of the issues that they were talking about was, well, from certain vendors, stuff comes in and nothing's labeled. So it always takes so long to do it. And what I want the ability to do is I want to pre-print labels. Well, Print Station allows you to do that. You can pre-print labels based on a purchase order. If you just did a PO receipt for part of that purchase order, you can print the labels based on that. So you can have a default to one of each, or you can have a default if you received in 10 boxes, it'll print you 10 labels of that one. So there's little things like that that are just simple add-ons that are many times when people see them, no brainer, like, oh, that's exactly what we need. Next slide. So quick recap here. I hope we were able to show that, you know, a lot of the things that happen are the same. You can only receive so many ways, okay? But when you have deeper needs, where you need a multi-PO receipt, receive it to multiple locations, for picking, being able to pick and pack, or pick, then pack, then ship. All of these things, when you need that level of granularity associated with it, Kensium WMS is going to lend itself very well to those types of environments. High volume, complexity, right? Once you start getting into LTL shipping and bill of ladings and all of that fun stuff, there's a lot of things. And so not only that, my team, several of my team members have been with me over a decade. They get WMS as well. So we have a lot of expertise and knowledge in the industry on top of having a very solid product. Scaling. Many times, the more users you get, it means more complexity. They kind of run hand in hand. So WMS has the ability to scale as upward as you need. We haven't found a top yet on that. And then, as I kind of alluded to, support advanced fulfillment methods. So, you know, if you're just picking pairs of shoes and, you know, shipping out one pair of shoes every time, there could be other applications that more than cover that. But once you start getting into the higher needs, the complexities, etc., this is where Kensium WMS should be able to fill those gaps and simply do more with more. You have more capability. You may find some ways to stretch it out in ways that you didn't even think about at first. So we're always excited to chat about it and show you what we can do. Next slide, John. I know that there were a couple of questions coming in here. Did you want to take a moment and maybe go through some of those questions together?
Okay, great. So if you're ready, first question is, what is the overall architecture of Kensium WMS, and how does it differ from Acumatica?
Great question. The overall architecture, when you take a look at a deployment, if I were to dumb it down to its barest pieces, you have customization packages that are implemented in Acumatica, published. And on top of that, you have an APK. And the APK is what goes on the Android device. And other than that, there's no layered software in between. So the architecture overall, it doesn't differ much from Acumatica WMS, for example, except Acumatica WMS is a checkbox to click on. Ours, you have to publish packages to bring it. So typically the deployments, when you look at it, they're nearly identical, obviously different software pieces.
Sure. So publish some packages, get some scanners, hook them up. We're ready to go. Fantastic.
Correct.
Fantastic. Okay. Next question. What does a typical implementation or upgrade involve? Does adding Kensium WMS add more complexity or time?
Yes, it will. Mainly because you have more options. As I said before, when you take a look at a standard implementation process, you're going to do your package to the sandbox, test it out, convert it to live. And, with that, a standard WMS, I mean, getting it deployed and it takes an hour. Getting it configured to all the little nuances, things that each customer wants to do. Do you track lot serial expiration date? I could ask 100 questions that could change the number on that. But so it is on average longer, not because it's harder. It's just because there's more options to go through. And so when you take a look at a typical WMS deployment from beginning to end, I typically tell people you're probably looking around 30 to 35 hours. Now, if you're getting multi-pack and optimization and shop floor data control, it can go up from there. But that's usually the amount of time spent with the training, both technical, end user training, your weekly status meetings, all the way through. So that's usually where I start at when I start going through a plan to deploy this for any customer.
Okay, great. All right. Another question. What hardware do you recommend to use with Kensium WMS?
Probably the second most question I get. And with hardware, our only requirement is you have Android devices. And we recommend Android 14 or higher, which pretty much means you have to search for a version that ran, or a piece of hardware that ran before Android 14. So the only thing that I recommend, and this is just from seeing it from the last 20 plus years, I typically tell people to stick with the bigger vendors. And it's not because I have stock in them or anything like that. It's just when you take a look at a vendor like, you have Zebra, Honeywell, Motorola. Those are kind of the big three, right? It's more people sell their products. So if you need to buy another charger or another stand, or maybe you have one of the pistol grips that broke, you just have more opportunity than if you buy a cheaper, less named environment. Do they work? They work. But many times people in the long term end up spending the same amount of money because people can't fix them. They have to buy two essentially instead of one solid one.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Sort of you get what you pay for kind of thing. And
Absolutely.
I know, yeah, and I know we like Zebra Z4 printers, GK 420D printers, scales. are sort of a different topic because each warehouse has different. Are you shipping small parcel or others? So if you've got questions about hardware, certainly just reach out to us. Matt, one of my favorite topics. Do you support GS1 or UCC 128 labels? Happens to be a topic of conversation
Yeah.
between Matt and I lately.
I
So,
jokingly would want to say pass, but no, it's actually a great question because to be honest with you, John, there's a lot of misinformation out there about these, right?
sure.
GS1 GS1 is primarily meant for inbound, outbound tracking, right? When I hear people say I have GS1 labels, I usually say, great, send me a sample of it. I'd love to see it. Because like a UPC code, you can't just make a GS1 label. You have to buy them. They're worldwide, industry wide. So many times what people mean by GS1 is I need a concatenated barcode to where it's item, it tells me a lot or serial, it tells me a unit measure and a quantity. And what we're finding is a lot of customers are succeeding with simply using our container module. And I'll be honest with you, when we first sat down to do it, I didn't have GS1 labels in mind when we were kind of drawing up how we're going to do containers and how to make it work. But it turns out it's there. So do we support it? We can, but most people, it's not very common that I get too many people in. But I would be happy to provide some follow-up information if anybody needs it. Now, UCC 128, we do not do EDI. We pack it all. And then you're going to use your EDI provider to generate those UCC 128 labels. So there's nothing embedded with that, because there are, what would you say, John, about 6 or 7 EDI vendors in the Acumatica ecosphere alone?
Exactly.
So yeah, so we try and we've tried to stay away from that. But I will say this: we have had issues where customers have asked us, because of certain EDI requirements from their partner, of saying, "Hey, can we track additional data on a package line?" And we're always amenable to those types of things, to understanding, okay, why, where's the data? So so we're happy to investigate that if need be.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, UCC 128 labels, you're typically dealing with a big box store in those situations. But yeah, it's an interesting conversation for sure. Okay, I got a couple more.
Okay.
Is Kensium able to connect with third-party material handling units like VLMs? And if so, is that through APIs, flat files? How does that work, Matt?
Yeah, so VLM. So for those who, I'm assuming what they mean is a vertical lift module, which are essentially storage things. Think of a big machine in your warehouse that essentially does the picking for you. Or what they do is they bring stuff to the pickers to pick. So rather than walk through the warehouse, it provides them with totes of stuff, and then they pull it. So but the key thing to remember is, because we're embedded in Acumatica, there's no third party WMS that we need to integrate into it, right? So there's nothing over here. It would be through Acumatica. Acumatica would be able to send that data to the VLM, and then it would return the response, print the labels, do all that. And for those who do use it or use them, they still pick a lot of product, right? Because you're not going to have a VLM if all you ship to is Walmart and big box retailers. You're not going to use those, right? It's for customers that are typically a lot of different products on one. But my point is, they still use the WMS for the receiving, the put away, the counts, and everything else wrapped around it. But that one area where the orders go through the VLM, that's managed by the device itself.
Gotcha.
That makes sense?
I think it does. All right, we got time for maybe two more. Can
Okay.
the system prioritize urgent orders or allocate inventory based on rules? I think you might have covered this earlier, but let's talk about it.
Yes. So there's urgent orders. So on the sales order shipment process in native Acumatica, you have what we call an order priority. It's a simple 1, 2, 3, and you know 3 is least important, 2 is second, 1 is first important. So by default, a lot of customers don't even use it. Everything's a 3. But if you had certain customers that were you give preferential treatment to, or if you have certain ship vias that require urgency for delivery. Because I actually, John, I was thinking about it and just now, and I remember when we wrote this, and the requirement of the customer was they needed the ability to identify. They actually had a van that would deliver product guaranteed in 2 hours
Yep.
anywhere in the LA area. And as you know, sometimes they can take 2 hours to go, very short things in LA. So what they needed the ability to do is once that order came in, they needed that shipment to go to the top to be picked. So
Yep.
many times they were picking that order 45 seconds after it went into the system and process. As long as it took to print that pick list out and generate that, they were off and running. So yeah. So I think you said or prioritize and then allocate inventory based on rules. Yes, we have a handful of different rules built in, depending on if you get into palletization or containerizing and that, which that'd be kind of a hard thing to answer without a specific example. But I would
Sure.
encourage,
Just
if
reach
you have
out
a
to us.
specific, yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Just reach out to us. We can talk to you about it. We got a question about support lot, serial, and expiration dates. We covered that. Yes, we do. The only thing that we don't handle, and for obvious reasons, is when Acumatica auto assigns those numbers. So brings us to the last question. Do you have a load transaction to validate pallets, license plates as they're loaded on a truck before confirming the shipment?
Yes, that can be done from the handheld. That you would load the shipment. It would show you a list of pallets, assuming they're probably already staged right there. You scan that pallet as it gets loaded onto the truck to ensure that that's the right pallet going on the right truck.
Okay, great. Okay, we're getting to the top of the hour. Again, if you've asked a question in the Q&A and we didn't get to it, we'll reach out to you. We'll have a discussion, send you an email or whatever the case may be. Again, up on the screen, you'll see we have a phone number. Obviously, email info@kensium.com will work. And we also have a contact us page on kensium.com. I encourage everybody to reach out if you've got questions we didn't get to, or maybe you didn't ask but want to know an answer. We'd love to talk to you for sure. So I want to wrap things up by thanking everybody for sharing some of your precious time with us. I think it was very informative. And again, I encourage everybody to reach out if we can answer any questions. We're happy to do it. So everybody have a great day. And again, thank you for joining us. See you soon.